And I believe that was the beginning of God working in me. He was just touching my life, saying, hey, Cesar, here, you could do better. You could live better. All those lies of just the fact that I had accepted that I was going to die the way that I was living. Like, I already accepted that,
Yeah.
But God is starting to stir up my heart saying, no, Cesar, there's more,
Welcome to another episode of the Powerless to Powerful Recovery podcast. My name's Jason. I'm an alcoholic. As always, our mission is to share experience, strength, and hope across multiple media platforms, the story of addiction and the road to recovery. We're not affiliated with Alcoholics Anonymous or any other 12-step based organizations or groups in any way. And my co-host is here, barely here on his deathbed. He still made it, Ronnie, no matter what. He's back.
Here we go.
Here we go. And oh my
Not too
goodness.
much enthusiasm.
Not too much enthusiasm.
No.
That walking pneumonia's got you a little stuck in your chair, my
Gotta
brother. But
finish
we're
up
here.
so I can go home.
I'm here. You're here because why? Our special guest. And when I talk about special guests, he's a friend, he's a father, he's a philanthropist, he's a husband, but he's much more than that, dude. He's the director of mentorship at Phoenix Oasis. Phoenix Oasis, and when I want to tell you about Phoenix Oasis, they're coming up when the 2 new female locations open. They're gonna have 300 beds. I think about our 20 beds. We are mental health at the highest level, so super high acuity, but that's a lot of beds. So he's the director of mentorship for Phoenix Oasis. He worked at New Freedom for years, guys. He wrote so many different letters to men and that were just like him, stuck in the system. Not only that, he's a recovery all-star. He's a man of God. He's God's vessel. He's most importantly of all, he's a husband and he's a father. And he's my friend, man. Cesar Reynaga is on the show. What's up, Cesar?
Hey, welcome, Cesar.
This is going to be fun, brother. Huh? We got some history.
Thanks for having me.
We got
I'm thinking off the top of my head, man, 7 years ago, people would have probably described me a lot different than how you just did right now. So just thanks for that warm welcoming. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, every single word of it is true, and I mean it with all my heart, and we have a lot of guests on, but this is really important to my heart, to everything that we've been through together personally in your journey and what I know about it, and where we are today is the most important thing. And so I always like to start with a story of how we got here. And so, 7 years ago, like Cesar's talking about, it was actually Mother's Day. Everybody knows. Shout out to Miss Franz. Miss Franz was a licensed substance abuse counselor at North Unit. She loved all of us. She kept that door open every single day. Even when it wasn't supposed to be open, it was open so we could have a safe place to find recovery. And I'm going to break her son's anonymity. He works for me now, but 6 months ago, I had the ability to snatch his ass from Colorado. We scholarshiped him at Desert Recovery Center, the DRC way, earmuffs tie, and we scholarshiped him, dude. Now he's an employee, dude. How cool is that?
Visual proof.
We used to sit there with Miss Franz, and she used to get teared up in her eyes and want her son to find recovery and God the way we had found it there at North Unit, dude, and he found it, man. And you got to reach out to him and have a conversation. It's just so cool. But 7 years ago, I was a substance abuse guy, and I took that shit really seriously. I mean, I was pretty crazy back then. I was running around the yard. You either get busy living or get busy dying. What'd you do for your recovery today? I was checking my sponsees, then doubling back around 3 minutes later and coming in the back door of the tent to see if they pulled something out after I left. Checking pockets, socks, checking slits in the boxers, Ron. I mean, I was all about recovery. And so when I got anybody who wanted to work in the recovery building, well, we needed to have a conversation. That interview was with me. Yeah. And I was off the chain, dude, because I was at that time, so 7 years, so I was about a year sober, dude, at that time. Just about a year sober when I met Cesar. And so he came in, dude, and I see you got the tattoo removed, dude. Much respect, dude.
You noticed.
I noticed.
It's not completely gone. I still got about another 2 sessions, but I have lasered about 5 times.
How bad does that hurt?
It hurts very, very bad. It's way worse than the tattoo gun. Thankfully for me, it's just a nice
because we're
spot
talking
on my face, but I'm trying to look better now, and I'm trying to get away from all that stuff, so.
Well, you're a walking example of a miracle, dude, because when we're talking about, being involved and being affiliated, dude, having a spiritual experience and being so entrenched and trying to figure out how to get out of it, and God made that possible for you. So he comes to the building. He used to, but whatever. He had a tattoo, so I knew right off the jump that he had done some things, right? And so I'm interrogating. Dude, I probably interrogated him more than the marshals, the SWAT team has. The fucking dude, I swear to God, I was like, you affiliated? Did you get high, dude? What's up, bro? Like literally, dude. And not knowing any of his history. If I knew his history, I would never have talked to him like that, bro.
Yeah, right.
I would have been 0-47, my brother.
Yeah, for sure.
We laugh about it today because, dude, I was like hardcore, Ron. Like really
I can
hardcore
imagine.
about this shit, dude. You know, and so I interrogated him, dude, and I saw his heart right then, dude. He was serious about it, dude, and we became friends. And when I watched him grow in recovery, we worked side by side, helping men for 6 hours every single day, facilitating groups, dude, doing sponsorship. I mean, we did it together, dude, and to share this moment with you after all these years, still connected, still helping people, still in the game. Damn, it makes me happy, dude. What do you remember about that day, Cece?
I was thinking about that on my way over here. Man, what I remember the most is I was extremely uncomfortable. You know, I was like, why am I allowing this guy to check me like this? But the truth of the matter was that that recovery community had something that I wanted, you know, and I went there and I needed their help, you know, and if it meant that I was gonna, you know, be interrogated for, well, it was probably about 5 minutes, but it felt like an hour, you know? If that's what I needed to do to get my foot in there, and if that's what I needed to do to increase my chances at being successful and tap into recovery, then, you know, I just have
You let it slide. You gave me a pass, my brother. Hey, you gave me a pass, man. Thank you for that.
I was grateful. I was grateful. I knew that from watching the movement of recovery on that yard and watching how you guys were active and all the people, all the lives you guys were touching, and I had barely been on that yard for maybe a few days, you know, and I could see it. I knew that I needed your guys' help. I knew it. You know, if I wanted to live, if I wanted to get by and get my life right and not ever come back to prison ever again, I knew that I needed to get help, you know, and God said, Cesar, go to that trailer over there, you know, and ask for help. And it was probably one of the hardest things I ever did, you know, like as men. For me personally, a lot of it might be cultural. I don't know. Maybe it's just my ego. But something about walking up to someone, especially a complete stranger,
Yeah.
that you never met
Different
before,
race,
and
different things, right? You know,
just desperately asking, will you
Freaking
please help
gringo.
me?
yeah.
Will you please help me? You know? But I'm glad that I did. I don't feel like I would have been here where I'm at today if I wouldn't have took that first step. And even though he integrated, he loves this story. He tells it all the time. But I'm so happy that you guys lend a hand to me because, man, my life, you know, it's from there to where I'm at today. It's not easy. My life is not easy by far, but the restoration, the healing that's happened, you know, just, I mean, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, family dynamics. I mean, we're going to get into it right now, but it just all around is just
It's
miracle.
been amazing, dude.
Yeah.
It's I'll never forget that day, dude. I always remember it and because it changed, dude. And I got to watch you grow and see your heart, dude. And it's been, and Ron's got an experience. Ron worked with him at New Freedom for a very long period, 17 months. They worked together over there. And so you got something.
Yeah, well, he's
Hit him with it.
He's another one of the individuals. You know, I truly believe that God wears people clothes and he talks through us and works through us, and the connection of, you know, of that North Unit connection. There's so many guys from that North Unit yard who were friends and connected to him that I became friends with, you know, because, you know, Jason and Sarah, you know, and you know, that's how our friendship, our dialogue started. But our dialogue started a little differently. That was included, but we worked together. I was able to get a job at New Freedom early on, and you were over there. And one thing about Cesar is he's always the same. He always has a smile on his face and a kind word to say. He's always encouraging.
Dude, I used to try to get him to talk shit about people, and he wouldn't do it.
No,
dude. He
man,
would never do it. I'd be
listen,
like, dude, tell me, Beth.
listen,
Tell me what you heard.
They
Remember,
used to-
remember Cesar? You wouldn't tell me, dude. Just
Yeah,
God.
dude.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
They used to, I don't know if he remembers this. I mean, he might. You know, they had back then, before they went to the other building, they had their own little area in the back behind IT where they wrote their letters.
Yep.
And, you know, it was hectic. You know, you're talking 300 to 400 people. I'm a peer support. I'm running around there trying to help everybody. I was in prison with about 100 people at any given time in that building. And that was my little safe haven. I would dip in the back there. I'd see Alex.
Yep.
Because Alex's office was right there.
Decompress, recharge.
Yeah, I'd come back there, and they'd always have cakes and cookies back there and good coffee. They had good coffee back there.
The good coffee. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd come back and grab a cup of coffee, and I'd sit and get up in his cubicle, and he'd be writing letters, and And they had their own little smoking area back there.
Yep.
That little smoking area.
His office, yeah.
Yeah. And I would go back there and recharge and always get a kind word and get uplifted by Cesar. And, you know, the first words out of his mouth were, "How are you? How are you? How is Lanny?" You know, my fiance, she worked there too. "How are you?" It was always, "How are you?" It wasn't anything about any stress he was having, because they had a stressful job.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Back then, New Freedom was stressful.
Yeah, still, I'm sure it still is.
Yeah, I'm sure it still is. And I just, you know, from there, I've just built a friendship from any event I go to and I see, and us working in the industry together and just seeing how many lives. I do have this story to tell. So I worked up at MRC for a while, Maricopa County Reentry Center. And I built the weekend. He knows what I'm going to say. I built the weekend program up there. And those guys, they had access to their phones and stuff. So, you know, they would look me up on Facebook. And, well, these two youngsters, you know, he's a young man too. Two youngsters, they had apparently looked me up on Facebook, and they seen that Cesar was one of my friends on there. They had seen some pictures of me and you somewhere. And, they were like after group, they came up to me all serious, like they rolled up on me, like, I'm like, "What's going on here, dude?" You know, I'm thinking,
It's gonna get real.
what are these kids doing right now?
Yeah.
Am I gonna have to nut up on these kids?
I gotta go.
Ron reached for his pepper spray.
And I was like, I'm ready to hit them with
the
the
keys out.
I'm in with a table, bro. And because they're young, and I was like, "You know Cesar?" "I know a couple Cesars, you know." And I'm like, "Which one?" And he said, "What's Cesar?" And he showed me on the phone.
This guy.
Hey, this guy. I'm like, "It depends who's asking." Right? And they're like, "That's our OG right there." And they were just good because they were still in that mindset of prison politics and, you know, the gangs and all this. And they were just like, "You let them know I'm here, man. And da-da-da. And I want to do good. And I'm going to do good this time." I guess this particular kid, you tried helping him out in the past, and he strayed away from the flock.
Warms my heart, man.
Yeah, so but the respect that they had for you as being an OG, doing something different with your life, knowing that you're not in that, you know, we're gonna get into that in your story. But yeah, I was like, "Oh shit,
I got
that's
another
for real."
story, dude.
He got him on the phone and they called me. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, got him on the
to talk
phone,
to
yep.
him.
Oh, you three-wayed him?
Yeah,
Right away.
have phone. We have
Oh,
phone.
yeah.
Was I not supposed to say that?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, it's all right. Okay, I don't work there no more.
Yeah.
with you. I don't work there.
Dude,
anymore.
we're
It's
trying
all
to help
good.
people, dude.
Rashawn might yell at me.
Yeah, calm down. Rashawn.
Calm down, Rashawn.
Shout out to
sit
Rashawn.
down.
We love you.
Yeah, he's big. He's a big dude. But I have to say this, dude, and then we're going to get into some other tips. But I have to say this on behalf of my wife, dude, because my wife was working HR when you first came as a client, okay? My wife was doing HR, but she has a heart to help people, right? And so she got into case management and built their workforce development program, and she was Cesar's case manager, and she had, oh man, I can't remember his name right now, but he was my neighbor forever. And Donald Lyons.
Yep.
Right? DB. Oh my
Shout
God.
out to DB.
I got so much love for that dude. I got a story about him I'm not going to share, but I got love for that dude. They're doing resumes and finding jobs, and Cesar raises his hand. He's like, "I'm struggling over here. I got running a criminal syndicate charge. How do you explain that? Or gang violence or
Street terrorism.
And my wife, you know, obviously, but being like a straight normie, she was like, "Oh my God, I've met terrorism." she's like, "Him, Cesar?" Like, you know, because you know his heart, and you know him.
He's
you
such
know,
a nice guy.
You know, and you know, God works in mysterious ways.
I mean, I'm wondering, should I keep that out of my resume?
How do I put that
How
on?
can I
put
spin
that on
this?
my application if they ask about, you know, it's just like it's intimidating, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of us come out with a bunch of wreckage. We're going to talk about that here, but it's just like, man, who's going to want to hire me? You know, like when I got these kind of charges, you know?
Yeah, and a lot of people have, dude, because your ability to connect, dude, and help in our past, all three of us has became our greatest asset. And regardless of what anyone else is doing, we're following our heart and our passion to help others, dude, and that's what we've done. And so currently now you're at Phoenix Oasis, dude, and Phoenix Oasis is a big company, bro. They got 200 active beds right now, dude. They are ready to help you. If you're listening right now and you need help, Phoenix Oasis, 623-299-5678. Reach out to them, phoenixoasis.com. Please, they have plenty of beds, plenty of help. Reach out to Desert Recovery Centers. We'll help you get there, man. please, that's why we do this, to help. If you feeling it right now and you got the chills, that's God telling you to reach out, and we're here to love you and help you, man. But you guys do a plethora of things over there, from vocational to all the access plans, to family reunification, tons of housing, long-term programming. I mean, you guys do it all over there. What's it been? I know you just recently made the decision to move from adolescence over there. What's it been like since you've got there?
Well, it's been amazing. Personally, what I'm doing, my role there is the mentorship department. So I get the opportunity to meet the gentlemen, the ladies and the men while they're still incarcerated. I've developed a 10-lesson curriculum that I use to get to know them, to identify the roots and causes and conditions, build rapport. So we're going back and forth. We got a dialogue going back and forth, and in that, helping them prepare for their release, right? And some of them, many of them, might come to Phoenix Oasis if for some reason they can't. My job as their mentor is to make sure that they're successful wherever they go. So I'll start to branch out to resources.
I love that,
I start to reach out to see what we could do to help them. Are they going out of state? Are they going out of the county? I'm branching out, which is where networking comes in, right? It's important, which is why we're here. Building partnerships, community partners, building networks is huge, especially if you're in a sponsor or a mentorship role. You want to have as many contacts as possible, right? So back to the point, whether they come to Phoenix Oasis or not, what I'm trying to do is helping them prepare, because I want to make sure that they never ever go back to that place ever again, right? So that's kind of what I do. My role there. At the end of that, the certificate comes when they complete it. That goes to the CO3s. They put it on their file and all that stuff. But I think what matters the most is that they're getting busy. They're getting uncomfortable. They're talking about some tough issues, trauma, fears, resentment, stuff like that. And they're taking the leap of faith, and they're putting action behind preparation towards their release, which is what I did when I was mentored, by Denise McDonald when I was in prison.
Dude, and for a second, dude, let's shout her out, dude, because, and what you do to make me cry, bro, because some people never got a letter, bro, until they get that one letter from you.
Yep.
They get letters for the next years, dude, and they've never got letters before, bro, and they have no hope, dude. How many people, dude, we've got decades in, dude, and we've seen it, dude. I was fortunate to have a wife, dude, that held me down, dude. But did you get a letter? Mom, shout out to mom. Hold up, dude. Shout out to your amazing mother, dude.
Man, I think of I'm sure we all think of this, everything we put them through, our moms. Yeah. There was more reasons why she should have turned her back and wanted nothing to do with me but she didn't, she kept me in her prayers. She kept supporting me. And unfortunately for me, it took decades for me to get it right, and I just think of everything I put my mom through, and the fact that it's hard, it's the fact that she just unconditionally stayed there and just never lost faith in me. Just every time I attempted and every time I got it wrong, every time that I tried and every time that I failed, she was still there, There was some hard times where I had to stay away because I knew that the best thing for me to do, because the condition that I was in, for me to stay away, and I know that hurted her even more, But she never turned her back on me, and I feel like it's her prayers that...
Yeah.
It's her prayers and other people that loved me, maybe even strangers that prayed for me, which is why I am where I'm at today, where I'm at, And Mom, thank you. Oh, wow. What you've done for me, it's not unnoticed. What you've done for my kids, what you've done for our family. I owe my success to you. I know I still got a long ways to go, but by your love and the grace of God, I am not nowhere where I used to be. And even though I don't say it all the time as often as I should, I just can't picture myself going through this whole experience in podcast without taking a moment and telling you, Mom, thank you. I love you. And if you're listening, call your mom right now and tell her thank you for everything she's done. Because, man, this is just rough. It's not easy to raise, people like me. It's hard, So... Mom, we love you. I love you. And the driving force of my life is my faith in God and my desire to make you happy, you know, and I'm gonna keep pushing.
Yeah, dude. We all have 3 amazing moms up here, dude. That dude. I mean, I'm emotional because, dude, you know what I put my mom, my dad through a lot, dude. And today to be able to contribute to their life instead of take everything they ever had, dude, it's everything to me, dude. And I'll never lose it, bro. I don't ever want to lose it, you know.
Not giving that
And we don't
opinion.
say it enough, dude. But it, you know. And back to those letters, dude, because I mean that, man. I watched Sean Warren, dude. Shout out to him, dude. We got him connected with Denise. He did an 8-year prison sentence, bro. We were trying to have Miss Franz look up death certificates for his mom because he hadn't got a letter in 8 years, dude. And the only letter he ever got was from Denise McDonald, dude. And the only people, my wife picked up Sean Warren. My wife gave him a pillow and fucking clothes and didn't even know him. I said, babe, I need you to pick somebody up.
Yep.
She
like,
picked
what?
him up and took him to New Freedom, bro. Sean. And gave him clothes and gave him some shit because he had nothing, bro. And Denise and New Freedom, you know. It's just amazing, dude, to share that moment. Shout out to Sean. But every journey starts somewhere, dude, right? And you give a shout out to mom like that, you must have a story, my brother.
Yeah.
You know, so let's get into that, man. And you know, you grew up in the Big A, brother. Is it the Big A? Is that Anaheim? Anaheim. Shout out Anaheim, right?
No, we're not talking Atlanta. We're talking Anaheim.
Yeah, Anaheim, California, man, and you lived your whole life there, dude, until you caught a prison sentence out here.
Yep.
You know, and just briefly, just kind of share because it starts real young with you. We're talking about using, you know, minor drugs called methamphetamines at 11 years old. We're talking about being involved in the streets at a very young age, and what comes with that is all the consequences.
Yep.
So you bounced from juvenile hall in and out. So just share, I mean, what did that feel like, that 18-year period, dude? What was that? Just give me an overall feeling of it, dude, because you don't live that lifestyle anymore, and we don't want to glorify or talk about it because there's nothing cool in it, dude.
I'm not going to glorify it, but here's what I'm feeling right now as we're talking. The fact that I could find humor and smile about some of the things that we used to do or have done before, that tells me that there's healing that's happened. You know, that the fact that I'm able to, make jokes about some of the past and the crazy things that we've done, I know that I came a long ways because more often than not, before when I would do those things, the only thing associated and connected to that was shame and guilt. And today I could find humor. I could even use that to connect to a person I'm mentoring or sponsoring to build a foundation based on trust and just mutual respect, 11 years old, like I'm sure a lot of us have a similar story. For some reason, I always feel like there's always something missing. There's always something missing. I came from a pretty good home. I had hard-working parents, a good family, a big family, lots of cousins, lots of uncles, lots of aunts. Parties were always awesome, But from an early age, I remember always looking to see what bottles are being left around there, unattended.
Yeah.
And if they leave the ice chest unattended, I'm gonna go try to sneak a couple, So while other cousins of mine or other friends of mine at my age were, busy playing tag or hide and seek or
Kick
whatever.
the can,
Kick the can. I was trying to look at how I could get alcohol, and how I could find, a little, unattended boozes everywhere, and I knew from an early age that I was always trying to get that drink, get that drink. And eventually led to me at 11 years old having my first bag of methamphetamines, and back then it was this peanut butter stuff that used to be super nasty. It wasn't as clean as it is now. It used to taste bad, lemon drop, and I'm sure his mouth's getting water.
I never had any of that, dude.
No, so Ron,
I'm a crackhead.
Ron,
okay.
Meth cured his crack addiction.
Yeah.
What year? What year did your crack addiction get cured?
2011.
2011. He came to AZ, found meth, never threw his crack pipe away. Never did crack again.
All right, back to the testimony. Yeah, so, math at age 11, I decided to take the bag that I had to school, start passing it around at school. The teacher notices these kids are turned up this morning. Something's up.
A lot of questions.
Calls the police, they come check me. Sure enough, I have it, handcuffs come on, right? Which kind of leads to just like right there from there on, I'm just stuck. In and out. I got
Well, the
expelled.
California juvenile system's got to be. I mean, I know juvenile is crazier than the adult prisons can be, dude.
Kids like fighting a lot, that's all I remember is fighting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mistreat coming from the staff, with kids and all that. I got mistreated pretty bad, but I just thought it was part of the experience, whatever, But people call it gladiator school, and I feel like I never disconnected from that. Every time I was released, even when I was home, I was always trying to carry it with me. I was always, always ready to fight, always ready to be, confrontational and stuff like that. And it was basically like that from, that moment on until, I was off to prison.
And something, Ron, how many times have we've sat, a lot of court dates we've had, Ron. Huh? All of us had a lot of court dates. We sat downstairs in the holding cells for a lot of hours and a lot of conversations. How many times you heard people say that they're in there for a case that they didn't commit?
Everyone.
Yeah, nobody did it, right? Nobody did it. But let me tell you something. Cesar did a 10-year prison sentence for his brother. Can you talk about that briefly? We're talking about a 10-year prison sentence in California prison system. And you wore it like a badge of honor, dude, because that's where your life was headed, dude. And every time you were in and out, dude, it was just another patch, another badge, and because that's just the lifestyle that you were in, dude. And to be this miracle today, dude, you're writing inmates, bro. Yep. That's great. That's your job, bro.
It blows
That's your job, dude.
It blows my mind. Like just how
so how does it feel to go to court on a sense that it's your brother, dude, and you just sit there and be quiet and you take it? 10-piece, dude.
Man, it's
a decade for your brother?
I feel like I was destined to go anyways, to be honest. The way
He's always told me that.
The way I was living, everything around me that was happening, like I was bound to go there, And I feel like if me going there got my brother to not experience what I went through, it was worth it, Because what happened to me when I was in prison, like what I turned into, was just all bad,
Mm-hmm.
And to think that my brother could have possibly turned into what I ended up turning into, what I had to experience, the pain and all this, we all think of all the crazy stuff that happens in prison, the riots and the, all the crazy stuff. It's worth it. I feel like I did it because I loved them and stuff, but
he means that too, dude.
I know.
That's the cool part about it, dude. Not cool. He means it, dude.
And I'm sure a lot of us would have done that for our brothers too. Maybe not, But either way, I got to do that for my brother, And
respect.
Looking back today, I feel like the driving force of my life at that time. Today, I would say is my faith in God. Right back then, it was just all street code, prison code, gang code. Right, and one of the biggest things out there is like we don't snitch.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like this combination of the love I have for my brother, cultural. And depending on this code, there's just no way that
it's happening. There's no way out of it.
Me,
yeah,
I'm wearing it. This is what it is, Yeah. And I, we see these movies, we hear these songs of people who talk about it or whatever, But I was living it, I was living it,
Yeah.
and surrendering, giving up 10 years of your life is not something easy, But I stood on those principles and on that code, and I put everything ahead of that.
He got released with a kite. Yeah, you think I love you, bro.
He knows about
I
me.
listen to you, dude. I love you, bro. I love you so much, dude. You have no idea.
Cool story, not so cool story, but yeah, it's the day I'm supposed to get released. I got my brothers out there; they're waiting for me. There's they're out there happy I'm finally about to get released, and there's this term used, prison pocket, that's used. I had some kites that I was taking out from the prison to the streets. Some political moves are about to be made. And, the gang task force in the prison had someone tip them off saying, hey,
you got caught on the way out, dude.
I got some heavy stuff that I'm about to take out to the prisons to, get some stuff going or whatever. And, they
you forgot, but
they take me and put me on potty wash. Either way, my family's out there waiting for me. I'm supposed to be getting released at 8 a.m. It's already like going dinner time, and they're like, "Where is our brother?" And they're telling him, "Well, he might not get released."
Yeah.
Thankfully, they get these kites and stuff like that, and
they release you.
Thankfully, these guys know how to code stuff pretty good.
Yeah.
And the gang unit's like, we don't know what this is, but we know it's heavy. We're gonna come get you. And we crack it,
Yeah. But you went right back to it, and that's the thing, dude. Because you go back to what you know, dude. Yeah. If you want to do different, guys, you got to learn different.
Right.
Hang around with people who do different things. You'll get a different outcome. I can promise you that. Just being with them, you'll get a different outcome. Dude, everything my mom ever said to me, she was right about, dude. Like every single thing she ever said.
I think back and I look at stories like this. I look at stories like this and I think back and I'm like, it is a miracle on where I'm at right now. You know, the fact that there's just, like, if you were to tell, if people hearing me that know me today that never knew me then, they will say there's no way Cesar will do stuff like that. You know, there's no way Ron would ever do stuff like that he's done or whatever. When you hear testimony, there's no way Jason would have gone to that low. But man, yeah, and we're not even touching the surface of it yet. Like, this is just like the tip of the iceberg kind of a deal, you know?
Yeah, because you get released, you go right back to it, and now we're talking about a decade, dude, of running the streets, high respect, credibility, you know, all the things that come with that. And in the time period, dude, you also have some kids and some children come involved, dude, right? And you know, everything goes so good till it goes so bad, dude, because before you caught that prison sentence out here, God was already entering into your heart, dude, because you were white knuckling it, dude. You know, because we'll fast forward, dude, to 2018 and you're in Yuma now, dude, and you're white knuckling it and you have 2 kids, right? Right? And you've been white knuckling it for about a year, if I can remember correctly.
About 6 months.
6 months? Okay, right. So about 6 months, dude. And we talk about this craving and this powerlessness that comes over us, dude. And we talk about that cycles of a spree, dude. And that's what came over him, right? Obsession, desire, relapse, remorse, repeat. But his heart's always been the same, bro. And so he, you know, I want you to pick it up there. So you're in the midst of a massive craving in 2018.
What led to that was that geographical change that we talk about. You know, it's like, hey, it got to be the girlfriend I'm with. It got to be the neighborhood I'm in. Now I'm gonna get out the city. Now I'm gonna get out the county. Surely it's the state. It can't be possibly me. You know? So I'm like making all these moves to try to find a solution to try to live better, right? Now I'm in Arizona. I'm thinking this is a fresh start. I got to do better over here. I have to.
Yeah.
I'm completely disconnected from the neighborhood. There's nobody that I know out here, right?
Yeah, easy peasy.
If you would have put me in Alaska, I would have found an Eskimo, you know? But so here I am in Yuma. You know, my mom's living out there. By the grace of God, she's, you know, had my kids with her to kind of watch them while I'm trying to get my life right or whatever, in and out of jail, doing violations and stuff like that, just strung out. In that process, I went to Yuma. She had my kids. I got a little job, started working, had a little studio, had my kids living with me. I remember it was clearly, man, everybody was super happy for me. Everybody was proud of me. I was proud of myself. That was before I had activated my faith in God. There was no, you know, there's no program. There was no AA. There was no sponsor. There's no manner of living. There's just, you know, I'm going to do
freestyling.
this. I'm going to do this, you know. Everybody's telling me you could do this. Everybody's believing me. I'm believing that I can, you know.
Self-will.
And then just one day, man, I knew it was happening. This desire, this craving just came over me, and I just got obsessed. It was just like, man, I got to go and pick up, you know. And I knew the best thing I could do was somehow get my kids to be somewhere safe, because I knew what was about to happen was going to be all bad, you know. If I could just get my kids, you know,
safe.
So I fabricated the story, and I talked to my mom, and I said, hey, this is, you know, I'm going to go look
for
a
job.
I'm going to go look for a job. You know, I need a little bit of time.
You need some work boots, but I'll be fine.
Can you help me? Can you help me with the kids for a little bit? You know, here's a diaper bag and stuff like that, you know. And she was like, sure, son, take your time, you know. And how long do you think you need? Probably just a few hours, you know. And I dropped off my kids with my mom, and you know, and then I never went back, you know, because this craving to use and drink was far beyond, way more powerful than I was, you know,
in that
way
time.
beyond.
Yeah, dude.
Without God, without manner of living, without, you know, the steps, without this program, without the sponsor, without the group, without the, you know,
ain't gonna work, bro. We need each other so bad,
hard,
dude.
Yeah, I learned it hard.
You learned it the hard way, dude. And you know, that run ends with a 3.5-year prison sentence in Arizona DOC, right? And so they put you on Red Rock. Red Rock's a live yard. Even with the IHP stuff that was going on all during that time, Red Rock was still about the business. And so now, as soon as you touch down on the yard, they know his nickname, right? They know him. And so there he is, dude. He's immediately inserted right back into the bullshit. Sure, he was running and gunning, but in Yuma. But now we're back in the prison system. And even though he had never done any time in Arizona, they knew him as soon as they did roll call and he touched down here.
Yep. Right.
And they shot you message from California prison out here. That's so I interrogated the shit out of him, dude. I didn't know any of this shit. All right. But I want to pick it up because we say a lot of things in the program, a lot of one-liners, a lot of things. But if you really know what you're talking about, those things are extremely important. and the biggest one of all is faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead, right? If I'm not doing my part and I'm not doing the work, then it's dead, dude. There's no outcomes, right? And so you find yourself where you got the keys to the yard, you're running the yard pretty much. The big dog, the Hefe on the fucking, I'm just going to say it. You don't want to say it. I know. Trust me, I'll say it for you, dude, because it's true. Okay. But God is really powerful in your life at this time, and it's really urging you to make a change, dude. And so pick it up of how how that time period kind of kicks off.
To put the picture together, let's see. During my time in Yuma, before my incarceration and my trip to prison here in Department of Corrections in Arizona, Michelle comes into the picture, right? You guys have met Michelle, and
shout out to Michelle, dude. The fact that, dude, I love this so much, bro. The fact that you guys are together, have the kids, we're gonna get there, dude. But it's a miracle, dude. So talk about that, yeah.
After all this running and gunning and living the way I was living, every time I went back to prison, every time I went back, I had less and less and less and less, and I could just see it all, And at that time, the very last things that I felt I was holding on to that gave me meaning in my life was my kids, my mom, and Michelle, right? I haven't talked to my mom and the kids that I had with my mom, the kids that I left with my mom for years because I was out there running and gunning. I was completely disconnected, but I was still very much involved with Michelle and the kids I had with her. And while I'm at Red Rock, she suffers an overdose, and then my kids get taken away, and they get placed in CPS, and it's that absolute crushing that I believe the brokenness is absolutely necessary for someone like me, to be able to get to the point, the lowest of the lowest, to be able to cry out and say, man, I don't ever want to live like this anymore. It's that pain, that desperation that we try to avoid, that we're doing everything we can. Our families will probably do it for us too. They enable us. They want to make it comfortable. They want to make it easy. But I had to have experienced that in order to finally hit that point where I'm like, man, I don't want to live like this no more. And it's the pain, complete brokenness, which is a trip because I've been to so many yards, man. I'm not even trying to brag. I'm just trying to put it together, right? And I've done so much time, so many different county jails. And I never, ever, ever remember me feeling bad for the things that I did. What I remember me doing is fantasizing while I'm in prison, and I can't wait to rinse and repeat and do it all over again the minute I get out. But this time around, it was different. This desire for something new was like just stirring up inside of me. And I recognized it. And at first, I was like, this is weakness. Nope, there's no way that you could think like this. There's no way that you could feel like this. But what your life is committed to. I know what there's just no way that I could try to entertain this, right? But I had to keep it real to myself. This is happening. These emotions that I'm feeling, this brokenness, this pain is real. And I believe that was the beginning of God working in me. He was just touching my life, saying, hey, Cesar, you could do better. You could live better. All those lies of just the fact that I had accepted that I was going to die the way that I was living. Like, I already accepted that,
Yeah.
But God is starting to stir up my heart saying, no, Cesar, there's more, And it's a trip because at that time I started to think, it's the God talk comes in, right? But up until that point, you're not gonna have any record of me ever talking like that, ever. I don't go to yards. I don't talk like that. My family doesn't know me to be the guy to talk about God. The people that know me,
well, yeah.
The big book talks about people being violently anti-religious, and that was me. If I was on the yard and you're from my neck of the woods and you're coming on that yard Bible thumping or talking about spirituality, you gotta go. There's no room for that. I need people who I can count on. If the riot pops off, I need someone that's going to have a banger there that we're going to riot together. I need people that I can count on for that, right? But to come to think that I'm turning in, that my life is leading towards faith, right? And I'm just reflecting on that, and I'm like, dang, is this what's going on here? It's super confusing, right? But either way, what I'm getting at is that pain that led to the activation of my faith. I feel like that's, for me, was huge. It's
Because you're in a conflicting spot where you're entrenched, and I wouldn't even call it similar, but I told my sponsor, shout out Maddie, I was like, dude, I'm literally still acting like I'm gonna make dope deals with people, and still actively I got you, dog. Yeah, I'll make a deal, dog. Yeah, all right. As I'm going to a 12-step meeting, dude, and he told me carry your big book, and I know, dude, it's reprogramming things that we've thought for so long or what we've been introduced to. You know, and you're at this point where you want to go to Bible study, but you're still in the politics. Yeah. And God did something for you, and he moved you to a yard, which was North Unit, where you didn't know anybody, dude.
I found myself before North Unit at Red Rock, right? And in that whole process of everything that's going on with the kids, and then there's just the pain and the desire to do something new. I found myself going to church, right? And in that service, it was tangible. I felt it, you know. And I broke down and cried. You know, I was like, man, like I really want something new. And I don't care who's looking around me. There's a bunch of inmates looking at me, and I'm just breaking down. I mean, and after, and then the pastor recognizes, the elders, in the service recognize, and they pull me aside, and they're like, hey, Cesar, are you okay? And I'm like, there's something happening right here that I don't know how to explain. And they're like, that's God, Yeah. And then so they invited me, like, Cesar, would you like to, activate your faith right now? And I'm like, yeah. And I was for sure, I was thinking this is going to be the answer, But I found myself leaving the service, going right back to an old lifestyle that
didn't
just
suit you anymore, dude.
Wouldn't make sense if you think, well, this guy just invited God into his life. I felt it. I knew that my invitation was real. I knew that it was right. But I feel like nobody taught me to put action behind my faith, and therefore when I went back, I didn't know how to live any other way, and I was just caught in this guilt, I was just caught in this, like, I'm a hypocrite, and it was just like, I was just going back and forth, like doing stuff on the yard, but then God calling me saying, all right, come back to the services, come back, like, just keep coming back. Yeah. That whole saying that we say,
Yeah.
But in that, it was just this crazy whirlpool of just over and over and over, but I got blessed to be reclassified, right? And then they sent me over to Florence, North Unit. And I knew right there when I was I was strung out on my way over there, coming down off heroin. And I knew God, when I was on my way over there, he was saying, this is a fresh start. We're going to start fresh right here. This is what you need, fresh start. And I landed on the yard, that had an abundance of the exact thing that I was trying to get away from, and an abundance of the exact thing that I needed to draw closer to, and people like Jason and people there, other people there at North Unit, came around and.
And it's different, dude. You used to hang with the Mexicans. Now you're with the white boys.
It's a trip. Yeah, that's a good point, though. That's a good point, because it's like I go from being actively involved, to just out of nowhere, I put a firm boundary up, and I knew deep down inside that this could get me hurt. I knew there's just no playing around with it. But I feel like they're like, all right, it's either all in and all out. And I was showing that I'm all out. I'm done. If I start playing games back and forth, we all know how that's going to turn out. But, I'm grateful that in that, God protected me. And he was like, Cesar, you just got to stay focused. Just go. Just put the gear on, Not only that, but he's like, I'm going to empower you too, because I'm thinking I can't do it. He's like, you can't. You're damn right you can't, Cesar. You can't do this. He goes, but I can, and I'm gonna work in you and through you, and then you're gonna, and that's what happened, And I feel like the gas pedal, we just hit it.
Dude, we hit it hard, dude.
North Unit has so much recovery. I think they might have had a meeting every day, probably close to it, And the whole time that I was there, I think I went to every one of them, And but the first one was the most special one. Because it's just like, at times maybe probation sends you, maybe you want to go for the, to get the family to think, okay, he's trying to do something with his recovery now or whatever. But that time right there, I was going because I wanted it, and I was going to connect, not to contradict, not to start looking for what's wrong. I was going to look for ways to hear, how I could heal, and I heard it, I walked in and I sat down and I just heard a bunch of men just talking about some I thought it was impossible. You know what I'm hearing him talk about is like, there's just no way. You know, people like us do not survive. There's just no way. But here we are. We're a bunch of men. You could obviously they're in prison, but I could see mentally, spiritually, these men are free, freer than they've ever been. Like they're having fun. They're just, and I was attracted to it. You know, like the book talks about attraction rather than promotion. You know, and I stepped in there and I seen, and I was like, I want what they got. I want it. And they said one thing: find a sponsor. You know, work the steps, activate your faith in God. The answer's found in God, and
that's
I'm
what you
grateful
did.
that I took those suggestions.
That's
man.
what you did, dude. And you got a sponsor and you worked the steps, dude. Dude, I had like 100 sponsees, dude. I was going table to table. I had 10 at all times, bro. I get emotional, dude, because North Unit saved a lot of lives, bro.
Yeah.
And we had that building where, dude, I mean, I could list too many. That's never been done before, dude, because God truly was there, and God does wear people clothes. And we had 50 men at those meetings wearing people clothes, dude. And all
so
together
awesome.
at one time, 50 people in a meeting, dude. Couldn't wait, dude. Pissed if you didn't get a chance to share your heart, dude. Right? And just fighting for a fucking share, dude. And in return, dude, we didn't just go to meetings every day, dude. We did step work all day, dude, in that building all
weren't
day.
just warming up
And I
chairs.
watched you grow. Shout out Chris Ridge. Are you alive, brother? SOS. I hope you are. I pray for you all the time, brother. Reach out to us. We need to see you, dude. We need to get connected, dude. You know, and I got to do big book studies with you. You got to facilitate group. He went from not thinking he could do it to facilitating group in front of inmates,
Yeah.
bro. What are we even talking about, dude? And it was pretty fast, dude. And because he was all in right away, dude.
It happened quick. Before I knew it, I was doing Bible studies on the yard. I mean, and I'm talking about openly on the yard, on the table, prayer calls. People are holding hands. There's Mexicans, blacks, whites, Orientals, whatever, holding hands, praying. And people were walking by, just, that goes completely against everything. You know what? They're
Yeah.
just like,
Oh, dude. And then I'm going to tell you another thing, dude, because he went on to sponsor a ton of men, dude. We did Jack Canfield's success principles. We all took a principle and we shared it in front of each other, dude, to teach, to practice something, dude, to teach something is to master it, dude. Yeah. And we all mastered it there, dude. I mastered how to apply it in our life to learn something different, and Cesar went to college, bro. Right. So Caesar's like, hey, bro.
Sponsor made me. I'm glad he did.
Yeah. So he started going to college, right? And so we're in the substance building. I was like, bro, I'll help you, dog. Don't trip, right? So I show up at his cube, dude, after hours, right? I'm like, all right, dog, let's get busy. And he's like, okay, I gotta tell you something. I haven't really been to school ever. I got my GED in juvenile hall. It's because my homie was fucking the teacher. That's what he told me, bro.
That's exactly how that went down.
Dude. Yeah, dude. But what happened was, dude, is together we sat there and we did those classes together until I didn't need to be there anymore with you, bro. And he took him over, dude. And
I got straight A's. I got straight A's when he was helping me, and then after that, when I said, you know what, I got to give it a shot to see how I do on my own, and I got straight A's again. I remember going back to him and telling him,
That's so awesome.
Thank you, man. It
Yeah,
kind of
dude,
leads
it's
to
big.
like the importance of mentorship and having support group, sponsorship, good friends that are willing to just pour into and invest their time. I mean, there's nothing more important than people's time, and I knew how many people he was sponsoring. Like I knew that the fact that he will still make time to help me with my education, and with that comes like really like pushing through fears, like in my mind I was convinced that I'm never gonna be able to do this. Like why even try? But my sponsor told me, hey, remember that agreement?
Yeah.
Any lengths? Remember that? And I'm like,
yeah, man.
So
I remember that one.
Yeah,
Like, well,
dude.
this is it right here.
Yeah,
Let's
man.
see.
And you took it over fast, dude. And so you end up, I mean, the North Unit, man, it will live on, dude. And we live it every single day, dude. And we show others every single day, dude. And the North Unit recovery is what the DRC really, truly is. It's getting vulnerable and loving each other and being there, dude, no matter what. And that's really what it's all about. And so you get released, dude, and you go to New Freedom, bro. Shout out Denise McDonald. She wrote you. She got the letter. Same thing she did for you, you do for others now. Thousands of men and women now at this point have got letters from you, dude. And it might be the only letter they've ever got their whole entire time. The only relationship they have outside those gates. Their only connection to the outside world and anything that's going on out there comes through you, dude. I know that they wait for those letters from you to come. They're excited to see those letters, dude. You have a whole mentorship program, Bron. They're building their BPS through mentorship, dude. They're doing their treatment plan through a mentorship program that you've built, dude, that you get to utilize every single day. And what I love is, dude, we talked about, being at New Freedom, being a client, dude, but you became staff there, but they didn't say, hey, graduate, here you go. Dude, you volunteered for 6 months.
Volunteered for 6 months.
Talk about that career path and how that went.
It was special to me because Denise McDonald and Joe McDonald, New Freedom, like the staff there, the clients there, like they made that experience while I was there super amazing, you know, and I, the best that I could do is give back in some way, shape, or form, you know? And I knew that one of the ways I wanted to give back and express my gratitude was to volunteer. So I looked for ways to volunteer, and I figured, well, how can I volunteer, you know? And I was like, well, you know, I'm active in the community of recovery. I could bring in a meeting. I could sponsor people and stuff like that. So I did that, you know? I did that for 6 months. And then the opportunity to be employed with them, Denise just put it on the table one time. She was like, Cesar, you know?
Yeah, let's do it.
And I was like,
I'm all in, dude. Thank you.
What would I do? She was like, you could do what I do. And I was like,
that'd be the greatest thing I could ever do.
To be able to have other people experience what I've experienced, you know, and to use what she's taught me and other mentors have taught me, the sponsorship and stuff, to touch other people's lives. Like, I think it'd be foolish for me to have that gold mine and not want to give it away. You know, I think it'd be foolish of me to want to hoard it all. You know, when I have the key, the blueprint, the solution, right? There's countless of families out there waiting to be able to step into this type of lifestyle. They're ready. They just don't know how.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is what it looks like, you know, and I get to do that today. I get to do that today, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. The ripple effect that mentorship has. You know, oftentimes we think that we're just touching that individual's life that's in prison, or the one that's out here that we're doing step work with or whatever. But the real fact of the matter is, if Ron goes out there and helps one individual through sponsorship or mentorship, he's actually touching generations to come. He's actually touching generations that you're never ever going to get to meet. But that curse stopped right there on the spot. God did it through Ron. God did it through Jason. Cesar's, you know, having his experience. Oftentimes we think it's just that individual right there, but that's not true. There's a ripple effect that happens where you're pouring into your community that's touching families beyond families, generations to come. Curses that were being passed on from one family to another that stopped.
Learned behaviors being broken, dude.
Right there, and we get to play a role in that, you know? And to me, that's like the biggest amends that I could do, giving back to the community that I took so much from. You know, that's the biggest amends I could ever give back. Because the fact of the matter is, till this day, sometimes I'm driving and I'm like, oh, I forgot about what I did. I forgot this and I forgot that. You know, and I'm never ever going to be able to fully put everything together to be able to make a direct amend to everybody. That would be insane. But
you got a massive living amends, bro.
By the way that I live, you know, it just, you know, it's my living amends that I do to my family, to my mom, to my community, to myself. You know, thanking God for what he's done.
I mean, just like we have, he's dedicated his life to others. You know, he worked at New Freedom for a while. It was on his heart to work with adolescents. So he made a jump to adolescents, did that for a year and a half. And his heart's always been in mentorship, dude. That's his greatest gift, is to be able to connect and use his past like we have to help others, dude. And dude, to have 200 beds, to be able to do that, bro, I know what those letters mean, dude. You know, and so just to see that, dude, is the juice, dude. And that's what gets us fired up. But when we recover internally, dude, because you didn't recover everything right away, bro. You had to earn every bit of everything that you've had, dude. And you have Michelle, dude. You guys are together. She's in your life, and you guys are together, dude. And you just got a house, bro.
Yep.
Right? With an extra bedroom. Bro, she overdosed while you were in jail, dude. She did a prison sentence, got out, found recovery, dude. You guys took your time, fucking redated all this shit, dude. You did it all the right way, bro, and it worked, dude.
I'm recently helping plan a quinceañera for my daughter who's about to turn 15 in March. And my family dynamics, the way it looks today, like never in my wildest dreams 7 years ago would I ever think that it would look like what it looks like today. You know, and it's oftentimes I get caught up in the glittery stuff, the materialistic things, you know what. But that's really what it's about, you know, to be able to wake up and know that you're living in an answered prayer. Know it without a doubt, right? So today we got this house, you know, it's Every kid got their own room. We even got a spare room, you know, for people that want to come visit.
You guys started out from a studio, bro. 5 people sleeping in a studio, dude. Saving, dude. Doing it, grinding it, working in behavioral health where we don't make a lot of money, dude.
Don't.
And you both are in it. She just got her fingerprint clearance card, dude. What are we even talking
Let's
about?
Get her a job.
Yeah, let's go. Shit. Tell her to reach out. I'm ready.
Man, the cockroaches were crying on the wall. It's just super uncomfortable. We're all crammed into a little tiny baby little apartment, you know. Kids are not happy, you know, I'm not happy, but it's like you just got to keep pushing. You just got to keep pushing, you know. You got to keep pushing. And by the grace of God, I have so many people that I look up to. I have friends who are super successful. They got their own businesses. Some of them are like really, really well off. And it's really easy for me to look at what they have and take my eye away from the blessing that I have, you know. And I want that, and I want this. And there was a time that it was like super dark for me where I was like, man, I'm stuck in this studio. You know, my kids were all like, all in the living room, sleeping together, you know. Yeah. But it's like, but I know God is telling me there's more, you know. And I know that it hasn't been a handout for neither one of you guys. Everybody's had their own experience. For some of us, it's gradual, right? It's like to not compare myself to other people, right? The moon and the sun both shine when it's their turn, right? The moon doesn't compare itself to the sun. The sun doesn't. They both shine when it's their turn, you know. But it's like just giving God all the glory, you know, that in those dark times when I get there, you know, because I still have issues with my thinking, you know. I want things fast sometimes, you know. But the fact that He could sustain me, that God sustains me and my family, and just gives me this desire to want more and knowing that there's more. You know, whether it's the house or whatever, just like I know that He's calling me to a life of abundance, you know. And being able to provide for my family today is one of the biggest
It's the greatest
blessings.
gift in the whole entire world, dude.
It's amazing, you know. And the fact that I could wake up and I'm coming up on 7 years, you know. Yeah. I couldn't even make it to 7 a.m., you know. And here I am, you know, by God's grace and just pushing forward. And I wake up, and the first thing I do is I connect, you know, my mornings, connect with God through a prayer. I reach across, you know, give this woman that God's blessed me with a kiss. You know, I get my kids ready for school. All these things, like I'm telling you, like they're fostered out. They're already living in foster care. It's like I was convinced that I was never going to have this experience, you know. And I would have been happy if I would have been able to just hang out with them at the park under supervised visits from a CPS worker or whatever. For an hour or so, 2 hours, you know, stay with them. I would have been happy if I would have been able to get that, you know. But God had way different plans, you know. He had way different plans, and I feel like that's the message for those of us out there that are still stuck, thinking there's no solution, thinking that my life's never going to get better. You come around here, and you'll see that we're seeing those miracles daily. Daily, we're seeing those miracles, you know. And I am one of those miracles. And these podcasts, you know, shout out to what you guys do because it shines light. You know, it gets people out there to see and hear, you know, there's a better life. You know, there's a better life. You know, so it goes way beyond than just people hanging out here talking. You know, there's a
hey,
voice
fuck
that's
that
shut
meeting,
out.
huh? Yeah, fuck that meeting. We're on with Cesar, huh?
Hey,
fuck
Ty,
that
cover
meeting.
your ears.
Yeah, dude. Hey, fuck that meeting, dude. I love you so much, bro. You have no idea, dude.
Such
to
a good
watch
heart,
you,
Cesar.
dude.
Appreciate that.
Oh man, dude. It's been that way for a long time, bro.
I know.
So it's just been a blessing, dude. Dude, I'm so glad you're
What a
here,
great
dude.
day. What a great-
I love you, dude. I get to see you. I know your message. I know your story. I know your heart, your kids, Michelle, just watching it, dude. It just, yeah, man. Shout out to Adam. Shout out to all the guys, the boys, man. We're all here for each other, dude. And we rally around each other, dude. And we know that no matter what, there's 20 men that if us 20, we can't figure that something out. You know,
For sure.
So if you're listening to this podcast and you're sick and you're suffering, Phoenix Oasis 200
Let's go.
beds, housing, IOP,
200.
Reach out.
623. Hold on one second. I don't want to forget 623-299-5678. PhoenixOasis.com. Cesar R at PhoenixOasis.com. 623-299 5678, man. Please reach out. They have beds. They're ready. And you heard what he said. It doesn't matter. We'll help you land. Please reach out. If you have a loved one who's incarcerated and they've never got a letter and you don't know what to say to them and you've given up, we're not going to give up on them. Please reach out to us. And if anything else fails, desertrecoverycenters.com. Ronnie, no matter what, Jason and Sarah, I got snot bubbles fucking going out my nose. All kinds. I'm a wreck over here. But call us, man, because we want to help. New episodes dropping all the time. Cesar, we could have went 4 hours, bro.
Yeah.
It would have felt like 5 minutes, dude. And that's what I love about you, man.
Just 10 seconds, if I could get 10 seconds to kind of close. I wouldn't be where I'm at without the people that I have in my life today. The people that spent countless hours pouring into me, helping me, building me. The mentors, the friends. I can't picture myself ending this without saying thank you for everything that you guys have done and continue to do. The family members and everybody, God, my grace, man, just thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Love you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me here with you.
Thank you.
This was awesome. So new
go.
episodes, Powers to Powerful Recovery podcast. Thank you to all of our listeners all over the world. We have so much gratitude. New episodes dropping all the time. Shout out to producer Matt. He's the best in the game.
Best in the
Get
game.
at me if
You're
you
the
need
man, Matt.
media. Tune in. New episodes dropping every week.